gotta listen up to
Listen
this guy.
up. All ears. That's right. All in. Okay. Wow. That's a lot of ear. There was this motivational speaker that was going to go speak in Japan. And he did a little research before going over to make sure that he could be understood. He had a lot of jokes in his talk, and he wanted those jokes to land with the Japanese audience because it was, different culture, maybe not funny. So he did the work that he could do, but then he kind of just turned it on to the translator, and he says, look, I want you to listen up here. I got these jokes, and I'd like to explain them to you so that you can catch them and give the right sense of humor and levity to the talk I'm giving. And the translator listened very diligently. And then the guy went ahead and did his speech. And he laid out his jokes. And people laughed. They laughed really well. And after it was over, he said to the translator, that was absolutely amazing. You caught all the subtleties because they laughed in all the right places with the right amount of enthusiasm. How did you do it? So it was very simple. I just told him, he's telling a joke now. Laugh. Yeah. But this thing about listening is quite interesting. I used to practice, I think maybe we all did as teens, selective hearing. I used to call it choice hearing when Mom would say, do the dishes. Huh? What'd you say? Or it's time to go to bed. Just one more show. Did you say go to bed? I didn't hear that. Listening. My grandfather was a wonderful listener. His favorite quote for me about listening was, I never heard an ugly girl sing a song on the radio. Right? The sweet voices. But the problem that I was thinking about with this listening thing is that a lot of times we listen by habit. We've already heard it and we've already made our decision around what somebody has said almost the moment it starts coming out of their mouth, And this practice of listening is really an art. And it's interesting that Dee picked 7,000 Ways to Listen. I'd forgotten about that part of the book. I've got some quotes from Mark Nepo that we'll be using in a little bit. But this idea of listening is a challenge for so many people. And I was turned on to a guy who did a series of talks. It was called Your Wish is Your Command. And in the process of explaining his theory on how we live our lives, he talked about something that shifted my life. When someone's explaining something to you or to me, I would frequently, when I thought I understood what they were saying, I would say, I get it. And what this guy was talking about is when you say, I get it, you shut off the other person from explaining anything more to you. I get it. Okay, then fine, I'm done, And frequently we do it. I get it, and now it's become slang to go, got it, like we already understood everything was to be said. What this guy said to do is, as you're being taught something or you're hearing something, is to say, I'm getting it. Because by saying I'm getting it, you increase the connection between the two of you, and they can explain more, and you really are receiving it. You're in an active way of receiving. It's an active form of listening to say, I'm getting it. Pretty cool. We have this way of speaking, and the reason we can't speak, Kant talks about this, Immanuel Kant talks about this. He says that we can talk to each other because we have an intuitive perception that works in a unitary wholeness. And that unitary wholeness is the you that was in the affirmation, the you that is spirit speaking through you that is each one of us. And so that's the opportunity we have if we listen fully, if we can accept that we're getting it and can get something and not be in the habit of saying, I got it, I'm done, I don't need to know anything more. If we can move into that space, something really sweet happens. Mark Nepo talks about that in that wonderful book that Dee referenced earlier. He says, when we allow the other voices of life to move through us, we begin to truly hear. Begin to truly hear. Okay, tangent. So last night, I opened up my laptop to make my slides. The thing is dead. Gone. Oh no! What am I going to do? But I had another computer. It worked okay. So that I think that must have slipped past me there. But when that's when we truly begin to hear. When we allow the voices of life to move through us, when we can actually begin to receive it, when we're getting it, it's in the process of moving through us. It becomes that much more powerful as a listening device. And then we can go into the deep listening. And the deep listening, I'm really feeling my grandpa today. Papa talked about when we were playing cards, he would listen to the cards. You know, he'd be playing and said, Papa, what are you doing? I'm listening for the right card to play, you know? And he would win all the time because he listened good, you know. And then when he was working in the garden, he would do the same thing. As we were working in the garden, he would stop and he would listen. He would listen to the plants. He would listen to the birds. He would listen to the sky. He would listen to the wind and could tell us how long before the rain would come. Because he grew up in the country. He had that connection with nature, you know. And when he was working in his office, I would hear him listening to himself. He would read his letters. He loved to write letters. He was a great letter writer. He was a teacher, a fastidious teacher. When I wrote letters to him, they would come back to me marked in red, corrected. Yep, gotta love him. But he would read his own letters to himself. And I'd say, Papa, why are you doing that? Because when I can hear it, I can know how the words are going to land on the other person when they read the letter back. You know, this aspect of deep listening. And we're told to listen. If you listen to that and read with the ears that hear, if you have ears to hear, right? If you have ears to hear, let him hear. You hear that phrase in the Bible? Any of you people that remember your Bible classes? Because I know some of you are running from that, but I'm going to take you back to it. Take you back to the Bible for a minute. Jesus says that 6 times in telling his parables. After he tells the parable, he says, let those that have ears, let them hear. And the story there is that when that phrase is said after a parable, is to say it's not about the tares and the wheat. It's not about the story that he's telling. It's about what's in the story that he's telling. And see, that's what hearing is all about. It's about getting to that deeper level so you can hear what's in the words that are being said. And there's something in the words being said waiting to be revealed. Again, back to the Bible. A Bible quote for the day. I'm doing a little Christian stuff today. Here we go. Mark 4:22. Whatever is hidden is meant to be disclosed, and whatever is concealed is meant to be brought out into the open. Ka-ting! How about that? Spirit is showing up everywhere and everything, and the messages are contained. They're hidden within everything. And you know what? You and I are the revealers of the messages. We are here to reveal what has been disclosed, to unconceal and to bring out into the open the hidden messages that exist in everything that is going on. You see, so our practice of life is really to pay closer attention to all the activities that are taking place in life so that we can get those special messages. It's not just what's happening on the outside. You know, we're not living just in a surface world. We're living in a world that's got hidden messages deep within everything that's going on, concealed wisdom and truth deep within everything that's happening. And our joy, our pleasure in life is to look, whoa, check that out. I didn't see that there. Why do you think you watch the same movie over and over again? You think it's because the plot's so good? No, there's something hidden inside that film for you to get back out in yourself, you know? Except maybe with The Wizard of Oz. No, that's really a good one. That's really a good one. I'm thinking about the metaphysics of Wizard of Oz. That would be a great talk sometime.
Paulette gave it.
She did?
So is Jim.
He did too? But you know what? What am I talking about? There's hidden messages in everything. It's more in there. It's to be done again. Right. My version. I'm not going to do a costume, but I might have a curtain. Yeah. But it's really interesting, you know, to go like to the beach and think about the messages that are in sand, right? I mean, think about the journey of a piece of sand and how it's been crushed by the ocean and ground by the earth and pushed by the waves up onto the beach. What stories it can tell if you lay your head right down on the sand and listen. Or as you look up into the sky and think about the archangels and what they can share with you. Or the busyness of an anthill. Or the majesty of the planets. There's messages in all that waiting for us to be revealed. So there's deep learning. There's absolutely deep learning in the process of listening. And there's a deep revelation that takes place in a person's life through the process of listening. But it takes us breaking through our boundaries, breaking through the silhouette of who we are. We've got this little outline, and this is me, and this is the way I am, and this is the way I'm always going to be, and I'm not going to change. Well, you listen to the song, you are going to change, Change is the only thing that's always going to happen, and there are two things about change. We're either afraid of it or we're in resistance to it, but we don't have to do that. We can move beyond it, and we can move into it and be those change agents and do the deep listening and the deep learning. The TV station I used to work for in Austin, Texas, KTBC, is now having their reunion this year, and they started a Facebook page. It's been just delightful to go back and check out all the people that I worked with back in Austin, Texas years and years ago. And one of the people there was a lady named Dana Milliken. She was our producer, one of the best producers I've ever had the opportunity and the presence to work with. It was just an honor to work with her. And I was a cub reporter just trying to learn how to write a good story, And I would come to her with my script, and she would look at it and go, what are you trying to say here? Read that back. And I'd read it back. She says, what are you trying to say here? And I'd read it, and I would say what I'm trying to say that wasn't on the page. And she'd say, go write that down. Go write that down. The whole thing of listening to what I was writing and then hearing it and going, that's not it. What I really meant to say was so-and-so. And then I'd write that, and my scripts got better. That was the lesson Dana taught me. Play it out loud. Play it out loud. Move beyond yourself. Break the boundary of what you think you know, and to deepen into something beyond my own self-reference. There was a woman standing in line at Southwest Airlines. And while she was standing there waiting for the flight, a Spanish-speaking family walked up, and they were confused by the ABC thing and the 1 through 5, 6 through 10 lineup. They weren't quite catching how it was going, and they were speaking in Spanish, trying to get someone to help them figure out what to do, and nobody was giving them any help whatsoever. It was really interesting. And she was like, I don't get this. And she had a little bit of Spanish, not much, but a little bit. And she finally looked over to the person and used her little bit of Spanish to try and communicate with the lady and said, we're not in that much of a hurry. Look, there's some space in front of me. You can stand right here. And the woman, the family, and the mother of the family, she was so relieved. She had 2 little kids and her husband, and they were so relieved to have a place to stand. But it was because that woman was listening, and listening bigger than just the story that was taking place. She was listening to all the people around that were not listening to this family. She was listening to the angst and the challenge the mother was feeling about not knowing where to go and what to do. She was listening to the opportunity to be of service to someone else. She was listening to things beyond just the scene, and in so doing, she felt this deep sense of satisfaction when she saw the relief on that mother's face when they finally got in the right space in line to stand. Something very simple. See, as we listen, as we are informed by what we listen to, as we are informed by what we listen to, we are inwardly formed by what we hear. Catch that? We let it happen, and then something inside of us happens as a result of what we hear and how we respond to what we hear. See, our personality, our personal experience of life deepens. The breadth of the experience of life expands. Mark Nepo says, when we meet things looking for the life they hold, we tend to listen and receive. If you don't think of something as having life, like if you see a rock and you just think of it as it's just matter, it's lifeless, you'll take that rock, put it on your desk, and it's a paperweight. But if you see a rock and you think of it as having life, and think of before it was a rock, when it was molten, before the pressures of the earth crushed it, before roads went over it, before plows plowed it up and dug it back down into the dirt again, before roots grew around it and squished it tighter, before all of that allowed it to form into a rock. If you think about all of that stuff that happened, that rock becomes a storyteller. Everything in our life has the opportunity to be a storyteller. If we can listen, we can receive. But we have to look for the life that's within every experience, all the movement, all the happenings, so that we can expand. And when we think about the learning and the deep listening, the you that's talking, that's who we're hearing from. That's what we're hearing from. We're hearing from the universe. Brian Swim. Brian Swim in The Hidden Heart of the Cosmos. This one line just knocked me out. He says, the universe, mankind is the universe made conscious of itself. The universe made conscious of itself. All of us are stardust, and as a result of being stardust, we are actually the universe itself, and we can think, so we can ask the questions of the universe. We can ask what is in the life that's all around us, and we can receive the answers and then give that answer back in our actions, in our behaviors. That's the greatest thing. Everything has a unique presentation that it's making for us. And are we present for the presentation? Are we present for the show? Are we showing up, right? There's a story that I want to try and tell here. It's a Hindu story. Yeah, I may need to use my glasses because I got it all typed up here, but I'm not going to read the whole story per se. But it's a story of the Ramayana. Any of you know the story of the Ramayana? Good. That's helpful. I can just edit at will then. But the Ramayana is actually a week-long epic tale that the Hindu folklore shares. And it's about this god Rama and his wife Sita and the demon king Ravana, who rips her off from Rama. He goes and he steals her, he kidnaps her, and he takes her to the bottom of the ocean. And the story takes a whole week to tell. I'm not telling that story. But I am telling, yeah, right, exactly. Hope you have no plans, because we're going to be here for a while. But I'm going to tell you the story of a guy who was pretty lazy, lived in this village, and the Ramayana was being told in his village by a famous storyteller. And his wife, who was a very cultured woman, wanted her husband to go and see the Ramayana. And he was like, oh, I don't really want to go, but okay, yes, dear, I'll go. So he went. Now, she had seen it before, so she didn't go. But he went. And the first night, while he was there, he was in the back row, and he fell asleep with his mouth open. And near the end of the show, they were feeding people, because it's an all-night thing, and somebody walked by and put a sweetbread in his mouth. He wakes up. He goes home. Honey, how was this? How was the play? How was Ramayana? It was sweet. It's like, oh, that's sweet. He's enjoying it. That's wonderful. He goes back the next night. While he's there, it's back row, he falls asleep. This little kid walks over and climbs on his shoulder so he can get a better view. And he's like, the kid's sitting on his shoulder, so when he wakes up, his shoulder's kind of hurting. He goes home and says, honey, how's the Ramayana tonight? It was heavy. He goes, oh, he's really into it. Third night, he goes. He sits in the back row. He falls asleep again. And this time he falls out of the chair. And before he wakes up, a dog lifts his leg. So he goes home. Honey, how's the Ramayana? Smells like urine. What? And so she quizzes him, and he confesses that he's actually been going and falling asleep every night. And she says, well, that's not going to happen tonight. I'm going to take you. So they go together on the fourth night, and they sit in the front row, and so he has no excuses. He's got to pay attention. And so he's paying attention, and he's like really rapt by the story. He is totally into the story. And at one point in the story, there's this guy, Humana, doesn't matter. Hanuman. Joe. You're right. It's Joe. Okay, so there's this guy who goes to get he's going to get Sita's ring. Sita has been saved, okay, at this point in the play. Sita has been saved, and she's now back with Rama. But the Ravana has kept Sita's ring, and so Rama sends the monkey god to go and get the ring. And so the monkey god goes and he gets the ring, he dives into the ocean, he gets the ring, and he's on his way back, and on his way back across the ocean, he drops the ring into the ocean. And the storyteller's like going, oh my God, oh my God. At which point the village guy jumps up and says, don't worry, Joe, I'll get the ring for you. And he runs up onto the stage and he jumps into the ocean and he comes back with the ring. And the crowd is like, whoa, because not only does the guy really come back with a ring, but he's dripping wet. And they're like, what the heck? He was so into the story. Are you catching it? It's a metaphysical story. He's so into the story, he not only gets the ring, but he comes back wet. That's how deep he was listening to this story. And as a result of that, the rest of the villagers from that time on thought, this is a wise character. This lazy man never had to work again. People just brought him vegetables and fruit all the time for him to tell them stories. He was like this great cleric all of a sudden. But it was because of this deep listening that he did in this story. Now, my apologies to Rama, Sita, and Ravana, but I think I got it right. Ever since, he was this respected elder. Is that crazy? Fine. It's okay. The point of the story is who's speaking. If you're listening carefully, God is speaking. It's like Blake says, if you listen carefully enough, you can hold infinity in the palm of your hand, right? And see the world in a grain of sand. Except I think it goes the other way. See the world in a grain of sand and hold infinity in the palm of your hand. Blake said it best. I said it second best. But that's the way it goes. It's all about oneness. It's all about getting so tuned in to what you're hearing that you fall into it and you become a part of it, you know? You get all wet with the story. That's what we're talking about, see? Feeling this very unique presentation that takes place with everything that's happening in life. Don't embarrass me, Betsy House. The next question on my little map here of today's talk says, are you listening? Obviously, some of you are. Obviously, some of you are. But you know, the thing about listening is that we can all make a difference in the world. And as we listen, we get the opportunity to make that difference. As we listen, we get the opportunity to move beyond the barriers of our life into something new and something beautiful and something expressive. We get to seek understanding. We can move into the experience of getting it versus the experience of get it. And why do you want to get it? There's so much getting in the world anyway. But how about a little more getting? If we had more getting, then maybe our houses of Congress could get together and work together. Maybe our whole country could get together and work together. If we would start listening to each other a little bit more instead of worrying about getting something from everybody all the time. In Dr. Holmes' book, The 10 Things... Next one. Did I miss one? Yeah, 10 ideas that make a difference. That's what it is. The most valuable thing anyone can do is to be a little more certain each day that he is meeting life with a deeper understanding and sympathy for others. Wow. I love when Dr. Holmes does that. Meeting life with a deeper understanding and sympathy for others. The only way to really go about doing that, the first way, the opening door for that, not the only way, but the opening door for that behavior is to start listening. Start paying closer attention to what's going on around us. To be willing to be all ears. If you're all ears, you're all in with life, and so it is. I was reading the Holmes papers earlier this week, Dr. Holmes, and the Holmes papers is a compilation of talks that have been transcribed, and it's so sweet to read that because the guy was really, really humble. And at one point, he's talking about something, and he says, I know I'm making a point in here somewhere. There is a point here somewhere. I don't know if I'll find it, but you'll find it for me, and you'll let me know about it later, right? Because I'm not sure what I'm talking about. It was really sweet, really sweet. I had that moment tonight, Dr. Holmes. Thank you. So our affirmation, here it is. Are you ready for it now? Are you tuned into it? You know who the you is now, right? Yes. Okay. I hear God's tune in all I do as I listen to you by means of you. Mm-hmm. It is now prayer time. What we have been doing with our prayers is all sharing in the activity of prayer together in the one consciousness. I'll be the voice, but we're all going to speak the truth, and we're all going to know the truth. Perhaps there's someone in your life that you know is looking for a change of a certain condition. It's moving through a moment of not having the most joyful experience of life. I invite you to call that person's name out right now. If it's yourself, maybe just call out the condition that you want. If you want wholeness, you want to call out for peace, you want to call out for right action, whatever that is. But we're going to speak it out loud into the world. And as we do it with feeling, because the universe responds to intention and to feeling, even before it responds to words. Before they speak, I will hear. Before they ask, I will answer. So what do you have? Let's hear it. Dina, Patricia, T. Michael, CSL Simi Valley. So in this moment, I'm recognizing a divine presence that is active and activated by each and every one of us. Active through us, activated by means of us. We are spirit made manifest. And in this moment, at this time, through our thing called life that we're experiencing, we allow more God to be more fully expressed by means of each and every one of us. And it is from this place that we stand in a particular place of power that allows us to not only speak our word, but see our word realized in form. For that's what we are doing. See, there is a law that is plastic. There is a law that is asking. There is a law that is waiting with all supply and all substance and all information to be revealed as the good in our lives. And so right now in this moment, through the word we have spoken and the consciousness that we hold, we instruct that law to bring about wholeness and peace and divine action and right good and harmony and joy, prosperity and abundance, easy completion, efficiency of time and space and use, healing of the planet, healing of relationships, blending of all opportunities for good. So simply know that the word we speak does not return unto us void, but becomes the thing unto it is spoken. And we do it now with a sense of love and gratitude for the self-givingness of the universe that allows us to say, thank you, Mother, Father, God. Thank you, Divine Presence. Thank you, Infinite Spirit, as we release this prayer to the law by saying, and so it is. Mm-hmm. Nice.